हेलो दोस्तों, दिस इज भारत कुमार एंड यू आर वाचिंग माय चैनल निर्मल इन्फो अपडेट्स।
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left.
India has significantly rewritten the long-standing premise of its relationship with China. For years, the bilateral relationship centered around an essential linking of the boundary, seen as managing tensions along the LAC, from the larger relationship of trade, investment and increased diplomatic ties. Agreements from 1993 onwards built on protocols for maintaining peace and tranquility on a boundary that is not demarcated, allowing each side to largely patrol its established lines. This allowed other parts of the relationship to move forward, despite doubts and suspicion that lay beneath. This was followed by all governments from Rajiv Gandhi to Narendra Modi. In fact, it was held up as a template to Pakistan that India and China could be mature enough to go ahead with the rest of their relationship and insulate the boundary dispute. China's heightened aggression and the Galwan clashes has undone the template. The Prime Minister's remarks in less sharpened the reversal of that policy, the first inklings of which were evident in the scrutiny of Chinese investments and the political underpinning of the self-reliant India campaign. When he slammed Vistarvad expansionism in his remarks to Indian security forces, PM Modi directly addressed China, without once referring to it by name. In the past centuries, expansionism has done the greatest harm to humanity, even tried to destroy humanity. History has witnessed that such forces have been erased or forced to turn back. The bilateral relationship now will depend not on trade and symmetry, but on the boundary being respected and resolved. In a sense, we're back to the India-Pakistan situation of 2000 when former US President Bill Clinton warned against redrawing boundaries in blood and urged respect for the LOC. Gedam Vampawal, former ambassador to China, told TOI, by changing the status quo on the ground and bringing in huge numbers of troops along with armor and artillery, China is responsible for breaking the peace. Hence, she is responsible for all that has happened on the LAC. China fired the first shot by intruding into Indian territory, instigating the clashes in Galwan that killed 20 Indian soldiers and claiming territory it had not earlier. India has now indicated that it will take its own series of steps in retaliation. PM Modi's visit seemed to indicate India will be willing to pay the costs of escalation. PM Modi's visit to the Leh hospital to meet the injured soldiers is equally significant in light of the fact that China is yet to acknowledge its dead or injured soldiers. Incidentally, this is not the first time PM Modi has targeted China over its expansionist nature. In 2014, on his first visit to Japan after taking over as PM, Modi excoriated expansionist moves by countries encroaching on other seas, a reference then to China moving into Japanese territory in the East China Sea. We have to decide if we want to have Vikasvad development or Vistarvad expansionism, which leads to disintegration. Those who follow the path of Buddha and have faith on Vikasvad, they develop. But we see those having ideas of the 18th century engage in encroachments and enter seas of others, PM Modi had said. 6 years later, his message is the same, the target is the same, only the theater is different. China has withdrawn its troops by at least a kilometer in the tense Galwan River Valley in eastern Ladakh, where 20 soldiers were killed in action in a deadly brawl with Chinese troops on June 15, sources said on Monday. Indian soldiers have also pulled back and a buffer zone has been created between the troops of both sides, according to the sources. We will need to wait to see if this is a lasting, genuine disengagement, said the sources. Temporary structures built by Chinese soldiers at the illegally occupied site at the riverbed embankment are being removed by both sides, according to the sources. Ever since the world started pointing fingers at Beijing for the spread of coronavirus, Pakistan has gone out of its way to express solidarity with China, even to the extent of refusing to let its 1,000-odd students stranded in Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, return to Islamabad in February. It is no secret that Beijing had been soliciting support from all its friends or clients, as some analysts describe the relationship between China and Pakistan. Islamabad, indebted to China for more than one reason, had gone a step further. China was being panned by countries across the world, particularly the United States, over what was widely perceived to be Beijing's gross negligence, which led to the spread of the disease that has infected 11 million people across the world and killed nearly 530,000. In the cacophony that followed as countries took sides, Pakistan was understandably the loudest voice in support of China despite some uneasiness in foreign policy circles of Islamabad. Before the world was able to visualize the impact of the pandemic, Pakistan was in a comfortable position on the foreign policy front, particularly the China-US matrix. It was effectively leveraging its influence over the Taliban to extract concessions from the US and the global terror financing watchdog Financial Action Task Force. Washington was soft-pedaling on Pakistan's failure to comply with the FET action plan and had allowed it extra time at the Paris plenary in February. The reprieve, by any standards, was a fair indicator of the Pakistan Foreign Office's successful handling of a tricky situation.
Yeah.